Hello and welcome back to Closely Observed English. Here we have another C1 advanced writing task, and this one is a proposal. So let's go over here and take a look at our rubric. That's this one just here. You see this notice in the bus station of the town where you are studying English. The bus station. The town council intends to spend money improving public transport in the area and invites people who use it to send in proposals for improving the system. In your proposal, you should outline any problems you have had with local transport and make recommendations for improving the system in general. Right, okay. So, interesting. Content points. Well, we've definitely got outline any problems you've had and make recommendations for improving the systems in general. I suppose the implication then is that when you outline the problem, you should suggest a solution to it, maybe, or at least give enough detail. Hard to say, but I was expecting to see 3 content points here, and it's hard to see exactly what those 3 are. Well, let's have a look at the candidate's response anyway, and then we'll go into assessing the piece. Introduction. This proposal is intended to highlight the current problems with public transport and give ideas for improving the service for local residents. Okay. There is transport costs. There is a strong feeling among all concerned that the costs for the public transport are rather high. Not seldom, people using public transportation are from middle-class families with unstable financial status. This is causing a problem for citizens who are unable to pay for their tickets. What could be done is lowering the price for transport or offering people discounts. Through such a step, more residents would have the opportunity to use public transport. Current users will be also in favour of this decision. Time schedule. What is more, the drivers have trouble with the planned timetable. Incapable of being on time, they are operating under too much pressure, which undoubtedly reflects on the quality of their work. Pressed for time and driving unfocused enough, they endanger the pedestrians. Aside from that, residents using the public transport are getting to their desired destination late due to the chaos in the transport's timetable. In this case, I want to put forward the suggestion of making adjustments to the time schedule by leaving at least 30 minutes between the departures and arrivals of the public transport vehicles. And recommendations. Were these recommendations to be considered, I would strongly suggest implementing what has been already presented above. These suggestions will help the current undesirable situation with the public transport to be improved. Right, okay. So yeah, I guess that the content's more or less covered then. Yeah, like I say, I wish I could see the 3 content points a little bit more readily. Maybe I'm missing something. Outline any problems you've had. So done that. Make recommendations. That's done in the different paragraphs. Okay. Well, I'm going to go for a 4 on the content because the recommendations part here doesn't actually recommend anything because the recommendations have been made before, which means that this recommendations paragraph seems a little bit irrelevant. Read that sentence again. Were these recommendations to be considered, I would strongly suggest implementing what has been already presented above. Isn't that saying something and then saying it again? Isn't it circular? Or am I missing something? I think it's circular. So that sentence doesn't really work. These suggestions will help the current undesirable situation with the public transport to be improved. Yeah, okay. But I'd say it's 4. It could be a little bit more developed. And if we take that paragraph out, generally, we'd be sitting on about 230 words. And I think that's a bit short. You can go up to about 270 or 280 without too much concern. And I think this is a proposal that could do with another 50 words, a little bit more meat on the bones, develop the ideas a little bit further. Now, in terms of communicative achievement, I think that this is relatively good. The register is fine. It's formal throughout. The ideas that are presented are built fairly well. Saying what sort of discounts you might suggest would help. I think you'll find most public transport systems do offer discounts to students and to the to senior citizens. So what is it exactly that they could do? Add a bit more meat to that bone. With the idea of the time schedule, I'm not sure what you mean. I want to put forward the suggestion of making adjustments to the time schedule by leaving at least 30 minutes between the departures and arrivals of the public transport vehicles. What does that mean? Doesn't that mean that they're going to be much slower and less frequent? Isn't that going to be bad for people who use public transport? Ideally, you want to have almost a constant flow of buses operating in your local neighborhood. Saying that you don't want to leave at least 30 minutes between them, that sounds counterproductive if nothing else. So I would say that it's a pretty good attempt, and I'd go for a 3 here on the communicative side. We've got the headings which we want in a proposal, and we have some detail as well. More detail would really help. You know, if you related the cost of public transport to the average salary, for example, or if you said, you know, it costs this much, but the hourly wage is only this much, there's a bit of a disparity there. Give a bit more detail so that people know exactly what you're saying. Now, in terms of organization, generally it's well organized. The sentences fit together to form paragraphs that stay on one topic. There are one or two places where word order was a bit of an issue. Here you have not seldom. Now, not seldom is a negative adverbial phrase, so we need to use inversion. So not seldom do people, or not seldom are people who use public transport from middle-class families. Not entirely sure why middle-class families have unstable financial status. Would they really be middle class in that case? Well, that's a different thing entirely. Generally, I thought that the organization was okay, so I'm going to go for a 3 there. And then in terms of language, the language is okay. The grammatical forms are mostly fine. There are a couple of places, like in the conclusion and the final paragraph, where you're not quite sure what the person writing this wanted to say because they're kind of talking themselves into circles. So I would say that the grammar is mostly okay. It's handled quite well. Word order is more of an organization thing. Current users will also be, not will be also. We put the also between the grammar and the lexical verb in a verb phrase like that. I'd say the language, the lexis, the vocabulary is generally okay. I think I'll go for between either a 3 or a high 2, something along there, or maybe about a 3. So, concluding remarks then. Say what needs to be said, but make sure that you add enough detail to convince the person reading it. If you're not sure if you've convinced them, read it through yourself and ask yourself, have you changed your mind? Has this person reading it now got enough information to say, yeah, you are right. We need to do this. We need to do it because of the reasons that you give. I don't think that's the case here. I don't think enough has really been done to convince the reader. And in a proposal or a report, you need to come across as convincing because you are hoping to secure some kind of action as a result of your words. It's not quite like an article where you're seeking to inform and entertain. The person reading it might just go through it and say, "Oh, that's good. I've spent my time well." Here, you want action, and to get action, you need to really impress the reader with the truth of what you're saying. And on that note, I think we shall end there. Thank you very much, and goodbye.